Another injury for the Orlando Magic and another win despite the injury for the Orlando Magic. They defeat the Toronto Raptors 106 to 97 tonight, and it feels like shades of Paolo Banchero going down. We'll get into more of that later. Guys, the big news, Jalen Suggs left this game, was in a wheelchair actually after he went down. Supposedly just back spasms, but we're going to get into everything regarding that injury and the technically great win for the Orlando Magic. Great team win, great shooting. But first, guys, make sure that if you haven't subscribed to the channel, this is Magic Digest, where we come out with Orlando Magic videos just about every single day here, covering the team as they go through the 2024-2025 NBA season, and subscribing is the best and easiest way to support the channel. Let's get into what happened here. Reported from Jason Bead, who covers the Orlando Magic. Great follow on X if you already have not followed him. Jalen Suggs down on the ground and grabbing at his lower back. This was a really scary injury. This was non-contact, and he was in a ton of pain on the floor. And almost at first, there wasn't really noticed how much pain he was in until, obviously there was a certain point where they had to bring out the wheelchair, and he was wheelchaired off the court. And obviously, Jason Bead reported a potentially devastating development for an already shorthanded Orlando squad. You guys know how tough Suggs is and how tough this team is, and just how much injury, bad luck we have been dealing with. Suggs clearly doesn't seem completely healthy. Doesn't seem like he's 100%, but he's battling it. He's talked about it multiple times about how he wants to step up for this team, how he has stepped up, certainly for this team, mentally and physically. And today we saw potentially an injury that could sideline him for a longer duration of time than what we had seen through the month of December, where felt like he was dealing with every little minor injury, but was always back out there very, very quickly. There's been a ton of scares for Suggs this year, but he has battled through it, especially after that contract in the summer. But obviously, terrible news. This is not a great development for a very, very tough player who was having himself a very good game, especially on defense in this matchup against the Raptors. So just unfortunate development all around. Let's take a look at the box score and see why the Orlando Magic ended up holding on for this win, because Suggs was injured early, but this Orlando Magic had a historic performance in the first quarter against the Toronto Raptors. They hit a franchise record of nine threes in a quarter in the first quarter. They were able to kind of ride that lead for the rest of the game. It was double digits for the most part during the matchup. Suggs, as you can see, 6 points. Didn't get a ton of time out there, 13 minutes. Then he went down, but hit 2 threes, and that was the theme for this squad. As I mentioned, they kept this up the entire game. 19 of 44, 43% from the field, or from the three, and then they were also pretty efficient from the field at 47%. Tristan da Silva is the star of the show. You guys know how much he is almost underrated as far as the national media attention, but it's coming. It is on its way. He had 25 points today, career high set actually going into the fourth quarter. He set in the third quarter, 5 of 7 from three. That led the team in threes, but there was also a ton of other really great performances from players that needed to step up, and they did. Namely, Caleb Houston, kind of coming on a little bit as of late. So he ended up drawing a lot of PT today, and he played very well. And now is not going to come up in the box score too much, but he still started off the game very, very well. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, obviously love to see that 15 points. Bataze bringing it just as he always is in the front court. Another double-double. Great ball movement. Was able to get 7 assists. Really like the way that they're using him as a passer. And then obviously Isaac and Wendell Carter Jr. off the bench. Now I'm burying the lead just a tad, and that is Corey Joseph and Cole Anthony held it down from the guard positions. Corey Joseph got 17 minutes. That was an uptick, obviously, for him. 4 of 7 from the field, 3 of 5 from the three-point line, 6 points. And Cole Anthony ended up having a very good game as well. Big buckets down the stretch. He had 9 points, 4 of 11 from the field. Not as efficient, but obviously huge buckets when it really mattered most in the fourth quarter. When they needed it, he was able to provide it, because this Raptors team did cut the lead down a little bit, especially going into the last 5 minutes or so in the game. I believe they cut it down to 9 points. And then Tristan da Silva came up big. He had a couple shots there, and then it was Cole Anthony with a couple of big buckets, and moved the game to 101-87. And by that point, the Raptors just didn't have enough. Now, the other injuries and how this team is going to move forward without potentially having Jalen Suggs. It was ruled that it's just back spasms, but back spasms have kept Anthony Black out for 3 games now, and he was out tonight. We're not going to have him in relief of Jalen Suggs, potentially. We don't know too much about him, but he's not ready just yet. He was questionable at a certain point today. Downgraded. He was out. With Paolo Banchero's injury, it was initially just reported to be a sore hip. So back spasms could be not exactly the... It could be the lighter version of this injury, just knowing that Jalen Suggs might try to power through it, right? And I'm really worried about that. And that's where I see shades of the Paolo Banchero injury. Just very worried about it. Obviously, we knew that he was hurt, but we just didn't, Paolo Banchero, that is. But it wasn't reported till a little later what his actual injury, his oblique injury, ended up being. Jalen Suggs, I hope this is not the case because it's been so tough. Clearly, he's injured for this to, and the way that this happened, non-contact, kind of trying to chase like a little bit of a loose ball. Just not good at all. Shades of the Paolo Banchero injury. We're not going to be able to count on Anthony Black. Other players missing from the rotation that we're not able to count on just yet. Gary Harris, he was out tonight against Toronto as well. He ended up having he's having more hamstring issues. Jamahl Mosley said it was due to a left hamstring strain, that he communicated this to him prior to the Jay Nivey injury from the Pistons game the other night, and that's why he ended up being ruled out. Queen was back tonight. He came off the bench. This was an entire team effort, so he was out there playing some good minutes. He was back. He was just sick from whatever, for the Pistons game. So he missed that game, but he was back. He's not injured. So they got some options. But for the most part, this team is going to have to lean on their big guns. It's going to have to be the Tristan da Silva show. I think now we're going to move into the part of where they're going to have to go from here. Tristan da Silva, these stats will only continue to rise, having 25 points tonight, bouncing back from his 0-point game just the other night. Right after I made that video talking about Rookie of the Year potential, he has 0 points. Well, he bounced back tonight in a big way and a much-needed win because, oh my God, where's this team going to go potentially if Jalen Suggs is injured? I'm starting to think that no matter what this team faces, they're going to be just fine. But Tristan da Silva, these are his stats. They will continue to go up. Now, I did want to spotlight Jalen Suggs before we get out of here just a little bit, and that was just the fact that he's been playing so well this year, and he's battled through so much. I cannot stress that enough, and I know I've said it a ton, and it almost seems like it feels like a broken record a little bit with how much we're talking about these injuries and the Orlando Magic winning in spite of the injuries. But Jalen Suggs has been hurt for a good chunk of this year, and he's been playing extremely well and higher than my expectations. And I know there's a lot of Fox rumors going around. There's a lot of people talking about, should we end up trading Jalen Suggs? Or you can't really trade him obviously right now, but is this something that you can end up moving on from down the line? Or is this the big three? Or are you trying to pair Fox with, the Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner's of the world, right? On the Orlando Magic. Or are you giving up Cole Anthony? Well, right now I think this team is staying put. And Jalen Suggs is certainly a guy who I think could be the third best player on a championship team. I think he's clearly shown that. And this team is going to have to lean on the guys that it leaned on over the last month of December. If Jalen Suggs is out for a long time, they have shown they can win these basketball games without their best players because Jamahl Mosley is a great coach and they got great depth. And this team certainly has a next man up mentality and a great culture. But it's just going to get tougher from here until we wait for Paolo Banchero to make his way back out on the court. It's January 3rd. Would love to see by January 15th, the middle of the month, for Paolo Banchero to come back. So just weathering the storm for the next week and a half or so. That's been my prediction for it. But let me know what you guys think in the comments section below. What did you think of the win? What do you think of Jalen Suggs and his injury? Love to hear it. Love to interact with you guys. But that's all the time I have for today for the Orlando Magic. I will see you guys next time with more Orlando Magic basketball content.